In the Learning platform, content is published as web pages in the standard HTML or hypertext markup language format. Thankfully though, I don't need to know anything about HTML in order to edit pages. Using the provided text editor, editing Learning platform pages is similar in many ways to editing printed pages using a program such as Microsoft Word. However, controlling page layout works a bit differently. In particular, positioning of content such as images and blocks of text needs a different approach. For example, if I add an image to a page in the Learning platform, I can use the alignment buttons to align the paragraph in which the image appears left, right, centered, or justified. But it can be difficult to position accompanying text where I want it. One solution is to use the standard HTML options to float the image left or right, and top, middle or bottom, and set a margin to keep surrounding text away from the image. Now I can add text in a block alongside the image. This is all fine if all I want to do is position text alongside an image, but what if I want a more complex layout? Well, if I know a bit about web page design, then I can edit the underlying HTML code for each Learning platform page to position images and other content wherever I want on the pages. But an easier way for me and most other Learning platform users to control page layout is to use tables. Here's an example where the page owner has used a simple two-column table to create graphical links to diplomas provided by my school. The dotted outline for the table shows that images and captions have been inserted into cells in the table and centered within each cell to get the required effect. To create a table, I position the cursor where I want the table to appear, then click Insert Table. The quickest way to create the table is to drag over the cell grid, to select the number of rows and columns I want, then click. However, this creates a tiny table, and I immediately need to increase the width of the table so I can see what I'm doing. I can use these handles to adjust the width and height of the table, but I find it easier to use the Table Wizard in the first place to create a nice big table with a width of 100% so it fills the page. If I'm using Firefox, I can also use these little icons to add rows or columns and delete rows or columns. In any browser, I can right-click on the table and select the relevant option to add and remove rows and columns, merge and split cells, and so on. Once I've created my table, I can insert text, images, and other content into the cells like this. By default, the width and height of each cell automatically adjust to accommodate the content, but I can fix the widths or the heights of cells if I want to. I usually just set widths, and I find it easiest to set them as percentages of the entire table width. If I want, I can fix some cell widths and leave others to adjust automatically. Note that if I fix the width of a particular cell, all cells in the same column will adopt the same width. The same applies across a row if I fix the height of a cell. Let's have a closer look at the Table Wizard. By default, a table with 2 rows and 2 columns is created, but I can add rows and columns as required. I can also merge cells if I want. Under the Table Properties tab, I can set various properties for my table. Most of the time I don't want to fix the overall height of the table, so I can leave height blank, and it will automatically adjust to accommodate the content I add. I do usually want to set the table width, either in pixels or as a percentage. I find it easiest to use a percentage, most commonly 100%, so the table spans the entire page width. Cell spacing defines the space in pixels between cells, and cell padding defines the padding in pixels around the content in each cell, which keeps it away from the cell border. I'll use cell padding. Alignment lets me align the table left, right, or centered, and background color lets me set a background color for the table. Style Builder lets me set all kinds of characteristics for the table, including the font to use for text, text alignment, margins, and padding for the table, rather than individual cells, and borders around the outside of the table. Back image lets me choose a background image for the table, which will repeat as necessary to fill the space. I won't do this on this occasion. CSS class, ID, and the CSS class layout options are not used in the Learning Platform at the moment, so I'll ignore these. Under the Cell Properties tab, I can set properties for particular cells, in very similar fashion to setting table properties. I can click Select All to set properties for all cells if I want. This is particularly useful to set the same border around all cells. The Accessibility tab lets me make things easier for people with access problems. If I specify one or more heading rows and/or columns, this indicates that these rows or columns contain fixed text rather than data. Unless I format heading text in a particular way, most browsers will automatically display the text as bold and centered. I can also add a caption and align it as I want above or below the table. Summary is not currently used by the Learning Platform. Preview to check the result. That's fine for now. Well, that's about it. Good luck with using tables.